And I think the primary example of this, I think I was so encouraged when I saw this. The best example that I've seen of this recently, the best case study of why marriage and family is the best solution and why every alternative to marriage and family does not work and leads to destruction and leads to anarchy and leads to chaos is Demi Lovato. So I normally don't talk about celebrities because I think that most celebrities and stories about celebrities are pointless. But I genuinely believe, I texted my mom about this when this happened. I was so overjoyed to hear this that I think this is very important to talk about. So Demi Lovato was recently, I believe she was on the cover of Vogue magazine and several other magazines because she's obviously a massive name and she's been a big star for, going on 20 years at this point. I remember her seeing, the first time I saw Demi Lovato, she was in Camp Rock with Jonas Brothers back in 2008 on the Disney Channel, and that's kind of just been the whole biggest thing. That was kind of her big break, and then she got a Disney show, and she left and had a really stellar music career, and then she kind of went off the rails for a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, and we'll get into that in a second. But Demi Lovato was, and I had heard, by the way, of Demi Lovato for a couple of years, but Demi Lovato had a comeback, and I remember seeing this it popped up on my Instagram feed, and I saw her in a wedding dress. And I first thought was like, oh no, like, oh, what is this crazy person doing? But Demi Lovato, I pulled up the picture and she looked beautiful. She looked beautiful. Like Demi Lovato is she's a beautiful person, by the way. She's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life, really. And she was on this magazine cover. She was in a wedding dress, and now she had like a couple neck tattoos and everything like that because she's kind of, again, like went kind of wild for a little bit. But she still looked great. I thought, like, she looked great, even though she's like, she's in her later 30s now, and at least I think she is. But she looked great. And I never expected to see that from Demi Lovato and she got married in a traditional setting. And by the way, she looks healthier, like physically healthier than I had seen her in 10 years, like at least 10 years, because she was in a real bad spot for a very long time. And so I remember I saw this and I was like, what, like, this is so wonderfully bizarre. Like, I didn't really know what to make of this. And I remember I texted to my mom and I said, like, this is so wonderful. Like, this is so wonderful. Like, she had a very like opulent ceremony and her husband looked like a decent, I don't know the guy at all, but I mean, he looked like a decent enough guy. And Demi she looked really happy. And I was like, wow, good for her. And so why is this remarkable? Why is this the case study I want to use? And I think this is not just a celebrity wedding and people, the royal family and, this or that or whatever, like this type of wedding, all those things. This is, I think, a far more important celebrity wedding than I have ever seen, at least in recent times. And the reason is that I never thought that Demi Lovato would come back. I never thought she would see the light. And the reason is, if you are unfamiliar, and I watched the self-destruction of this woman in real time, basically, she is so there's a common thing now that's like people who there was that documentary on Nickelodeon that The Quiet on Set that premiered last year with obviously that bombshell interview with Drake Bell and all the things around Amanda Bynes, things like that. And so the rule of thumb with children who go into the entertainment industry is that they are not going to do well. You have a chance of destroying them, largely. And this is not I don't think it's an exaggeration at all to say that Demi Lovato was the worst example of a post-Disney era Disney kid I had ever seen. She was in bad shape, man, like really bad shape. She was, I believe, addicted to heroin and several other drugs for a long time. She was like non-binary for like 45 minutes, more than 45 minutes, it's a joke. But she shaved her head. She got, like I said, all the tattoos. She suffered traumatic sexual abuse. Ben Shapiro did a really great video on this a couple years ago when he was talking about Demi's new album and her music video where she was like very, very open and honest about like all of the time she was abused by people and everything else, which obviously contributed to a lot of this brokenness and dysfunction and sexual confusion and things like that. And I was watching these things. It just like the hits kept on coming. And I was just watching her. I was like, oh boy, like she's not going to come back from this. Like she's going to kind of be like, and Macaulay Culkin came back from this too. I believe he's now married to Brenda Song, the great Brenda Song from Disney Channel as well. But I thought that Demi Lovato, I thought she was going to, at best, be kind of like Madonna, and Madonna's like kind of pathetic, and like she's dating the 20-year-old guy now, and it's got plastic surgery and like still raps about her, or not raps, oh God, that would be horrible, but like sings about her sex life and a bunch of other things. She's like 70. And I thought like, okay, maybe she could like be that eventually, but I thought she was going the way of probably some like Amy Winehouse or somebody like that, where she would just kind of spiral and spiral and spiral and spiral, and eventually she'd like get a bad batch of drugs and she'd OD on something, or she would just go into permanent irrelevance, or she'd end up like Amanda Bynes. And Amanda Bynes has been like homeless, like smoking crack out of tinfoil on the street, like she's in bad shape. And I thought like, okay, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen to Demi Lovato. But I was wrong. And I think when I texted my mom, I said, she escaped the cult. She escaped the cult. And so what cult am I referring to? The cult of the world, the cult of worldly living, the cult of the alphabet mafia, the cult of the do whatever you want, expressive individualist mafia. And she is now relishing. She's gotten out of that, and she's now relishing in what is hopefully a very healthy and a very helpful marriage. And this is like, that was the biggest thing, because this is the biggest middle finger FU to worldly living that I have seen in quite some time. And that is why I think the Demi Lovato thing and this marriage should fill us with tremendous hope. It did with me. Like, I'm kind of a cynic. Like, I'm a glass half empty guy. Not kind of a cynic. I am a cynic. But it made me very hopeful. I'll say that. It made me very hopeful that if Demi Lovato can get out of the spot that she was in a spot, that anyone can do that. Because Demi Lovato, not only was she going down a path of self-destruction, she was given jet fuel to fuel her self-destruction. She was given money, power, fame, beauty, everything. And she could have just, you're just everything, just boom, 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 like down very, very fast. And she was for a long time. But she came back and she got out and she escaped. And she came back to the truth about marriage and family. And so if Demi Lovato can do that, if Demi Lovato, who again was, I thought, so far gone, that the best option that I thought she could have was something like Madonna, who is such a sad caricature of all this stuff, and not even a caricature, she's a real person, and she has done all those things. But if she can do that, Demi Lovato meaning, then we all can do that, and our culture can do that. If we buy into the thing that Demi Lovato has bought into, which is that nothing out there is going to make me happy. It's a marriage. It's hopefully a family. Hopefully she has children. That'd be great, I think, if she is this back in the light as I think she is. And I think that's an overwhelmingly positive thing. It's an overwhelmingly positive thing. And so why this matters, especially given the case of Demi Lovato. Again, Demi Lovato is an extreme outlier in this example because, like I mentioned earlier, she was given everything from a very young age. She had youth. She had money, power, fame. She's incredibly beautiful. She's very talented. She's got a great voice. She can act. She can sing, everything. And she was given it at a very young age. I don't know how old she was when she did Camp Rock, but she was very young. I believe she might have been only 18. Like the Jonas Brothers were around that age when they did that movie too. So they were all very young at that point. And she took advantage of all of them and nearly died trying to take them all in, and died, I think, spiritually a little bit as well because of all the things that she experienced. And she was like spiritually a zombie for a very long time. Like she just like got her soul taken out of her by the world and by the people that were so evil, and I think evil's the right word here, in taking this beautiful, talented, extremely influential, particularly to young women and girls, young woman, and destroying her and fueling her self-destruction. Miley Cyrus is kind of the same way, but I thought Demi Lovato was worse than Miley Cyrus was. And Miley, I don't think was ever this bad. Like Miley was bad, but she wasn't this bad. At least I don't think she was. But now, with this revelation, we have a definitive, hopeful case as why the alternative to the worldly lifestyle is so much better. It's so much better. And this is why we, as value-driven people, we need to be doing everything in our power to encourage it. And encourage it in young people, especially. Young women, especially, I think. I think young men are kind of coming around to this, especially with the rise in religious attendance, the rise of young men wanting kids and marriage and Christianity, especially. But I think this image of Demi Lovato in the wedding, I'm going to make it the thumbnail on this video, and I'll probably do it the thumbnail on the title on the episode link itself. It's very important, I believe, especially to young people, to young women, and saying like, look, you can try what is ever out there, but it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to fill you up. It's not going to give you what you think it's going to give you. And I think that's tremendously important. I give a lot of credit to Demi Lovato for fighting that and coming back to the light. And I genuinely wish the best for her. And she will probably never hear this episode. I would love to talk to Demi Lovato and talk to her about this. But I just hope she has a happy marriage. And I hope that for herself, obviously, and her husband, and hopefully she has kids. But I hope it for the culture, because I think it's a really good example and a story of redemption, which, Americans love an underdog, Americans love a comeback, and I think Demi Lovato is a great example of one.